Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Well, here in Brighton at the Labour Party conference, we're just meters from the podium where, for the first time, Jeremy Corbyn gave a speech with an autocue, a measure of how unconventional his route to leadership has been. It was given to a party still recovering from its second election defeat. Some of its members are here with us tonight, and to many parliamentary colleagues who are still deep in shock over his victory, they too were here. But what will the Corbyn era be like? Today he tried to tell us. In a minute, we'll speak to his close colleague Diane Abbott. But first, here's our political editor, Gary Gibbon.
Jeremy Corbyn was catapulted from obscurity, propelled by a surge of supporters attracted by his authenticity, his rejection of focus group politics. He put that victory at the heart of his first speech as party leader. Many familiar faces didn't attend. Those that did cheered him in.
Any chance we could start?
And when he started, he mocked the newspapers who vilified him and, he thinks, underestimate the popular uprising that delivered his victory.
If these people were sports reporters writing about a football team, they'd be saying this: they've had a terrible summer. They've got 160,000 new fans. Season tickets are sold out. The new supporters are young and optimistic. I don't know how this club is going to get through this crisis.
Leaders of defeated parties normally reflect on what went wrong. Jeremy Corbyn instead focused on his internal party victory.
I've been given a huge mandate. I believe it's a mandate for change.
A mandate, he said, for a kinder, bottom-up politics, for anti-austerity economics, from a newly engaged mass.
They don't want to do things the old way. Young people and older people are fizzing with ideas. Let's give them the space for that fizz to explode into the joy we want of a better society.
To those Labour MPs who support the nuclear deterrent and thought they'd seen off his opposition to it, he had a message. He still intends to change policy, despite some threats of resignation.
But there's one thing I want to make my own position on absolutely clear, and I believe I have a mandate from my election on it. I don't believe that £100 billion spent on a new generation of nuclear weapons, taking up a quarter of our defence budget, is the right way forward. I believe...
There was applause for that. You couldn't say his front bench was exactly leading it, though. The applause was more universal for nationalising the railways.
On our new plan to bring the private franchises into public ownership as they expire. Labour's policy.
He said the party was now committed to putting schools under local education authority control. It sounded to some MPs like he'd killed off Labour's support for academies.
Every school accountable to local government through local education authorities.
And there was an ovation for his attack on those on the left who'd sent offensive messages on social media to his political critics.
So I say to all activists, whether Labour or not, cut out the personal abuse, cut out the cyberbullying, and especially the misogynistic abuse online, and let's get on with bringing real values back into politics.
The crash course on autocue only failed him once as he read out the strong message here stage direction.
And strong message here, not cutting student numbers, giving young people real hope and real opportunity.
He ended with a passionate attack on how the few oppress the many.
Some people have property and power, class and capital, status and clout, which are denied to the many. And time again, the people who receive a great deal tell the many, be grateful to have anything at all. They expect millions of people to work harder, longer, for a lower quality of life on lower wages. Well, they're not having it. Our Labour Party says no. The British people never have to take what they're given.
Turns out this old-time religion was older than he thought, penned by a former Labour advisor who'd sent it into Mr Corbyn's office with little expectation it would get read out. Turns out he'd sent it to the last 6 Labour leaders, starting with Neil Kinnock in the 1980s.
He said he's got a mandate on Trident. he said he's got a mandate debate, and that's what we want. We've all been saying that.
That's not what he said. He said he'd got a mandate for his view of Trident.
Well, that's what he did say. We're going to go out. He's got a position. We've made that very clear. It might be a position that we disagree on, but he also said we're a pluralist party now.
It's good that we're getting back some form of planning of our education system, democratically planned.
The death of academies, do you think?
I think it's about bringing all schools under local authority planning.
I think some people would call that the death of academies.
Yes, I think...
You're happy with that?
Yes, I am, Gary.
Many Labour MPs think Jeremy Corbyn's message won't connect with the party's lost voters, but it was a speech that outstripped many expectations and delivery and thrilled many faithful in the hall.
Well, our political editor Gary Gibbon joins me now with a little more on the speech. And just before we go to the content, I mean, exactly where the speech came from. Was it all out of Corbyn's head? Apparently not.
Not really, no. The cri de coeur at the end, which was meant to be some sort of passionate cry from the man who'd held his own opinions for years and years. It turns out, you can see the highlighted bits. So they all actually were written a long time ago by a former advisor to Dennis Healey, who's actually submitted them to 6 of the last Labour leaders and been hoping one of them would pick them up. He said he was rather thrilled this guy had. I don't think it really, I mean, it's embarrassing, but they were writing a speech in a hurry. Normal procedures would mean this wouldn't happen, but it did happen. But it's not that damaging, because there's one thing you can't say about Jeremy Corbyn. This would hurt if he was phony, but that doesn't really stick.
So, content. What's the absolute nub of what you've learned today?
I think we learned a couple of things, really. That Jeremy Corbyn looks at his victory for lessons, the extraordinary phenomenon of the upsurge of support that happened out there. He thinks that tells you something else is going on out there in society that can make him a winner. Labour leaders normally, or any leader that's defeated normally, stares at demographics, gets focus groups working on things. He thinks that's old Westminster bubble politics. There will be people who criticise him in the Labour Party who say it's quite possible to be sucked into another sort of bubble, the bubble of the surge, as it were, and he's in danger of doing that. And I think the other thing is, he talks about a sort of Mrs. Merton politics, let's have a heated debate and the rest of it, but it will be kinder, gentler than normal debates. I think we saw a little flavour in there that it won't necessarily be that kind or gentle if you're on the losing side, because he intends to use the mass membership to try to defeat the MPs, and he's going to take them on.
Gary Gibbon. Well, we're joined now by Diane Abbott, Shadow Secretary for International Development, a closer ally of Jeremy Corbyn. Let me start with nuclear, because he has defined, in a sense, his mandate as embracing the capacity to change Britain's position on Trident. Does that mean basically he can overrule you and anybody else who disagrees? How does that stick?
Jeremy wants to debate on Trident, but you heard our Shadow Chancellor say yesterday that we have to live within our means. And if we have to live within our means, spending 100 billion on a Cold War weapon we can't ever use seems to me a reasonable place to make cuts.
So there could be dramatic change?
Well, I hope we will.
I think I can hear Lord Faulkner in my ear saying, hang on a minute, over my dead body.
I hope that we'll listen to ordinary people. If we've got to live within our means, one of the first cuts should be this Cold War 100 billion weapon.
What's happened to the apology for the Iraq War?
I'm sure that will come. I mean, it was quite a long speech already, and Jeremy couldn't pack everything in. But I mean, Jeremy's...
Well, apologising for the war was a rather big thing.
No. In terms of, it was a long speech, and he decided to frame it in a certain way. He talked a lot about human rights, which was really important. But Jeremy's position, and John McDonnell's position for that matter, on the Iraq War is a matter of record. And I think one of the things he saw in his campaign is people who had left the Labour Party over the Iraq War coming back. So he'll want to make his position clear.
Now, Ed Miliband notoriously forgot the deficit when he spoke last year. But actually, Mr. Corbyn didn't mention the deficit either.
Well, that's because John McDonnell had dealt with it absolutely exhaustively the day before. I mean, if you have to read Jeremy's speech with John McDonnell's speech, and John McDonnell spoke about the deficit and how we take the deficit seriously, and we are going to close it, but in a different way from the Tories.
We're talking horse and carriage. I mean, basically, they go together.
Yes, horse and carriage, they go together. The two of them go together.
Now, electoral defeat. Most people, after a dramatic defeat like the last one, would address it. He has offered no analysis of what went wrong, and I think people would be interested to know what he thinks did go wrong.
Well, there's a number of surveys. I mean, Harriet Harman, when she was acting leader, commissioned a survey. So there will be discussion about what went wrong. But I think what Jeremy thinks is the whole leadership process has been part of a renewal, and he wants to look forward, not back.
But there is a danger, isn't there, that you can secure yourself behind this rampart of some of these people here who joined the party in these last few months and got very excited and the rest of it. But they are in the tens of thousands, I mean, maybe 150,000. But 11 million people voted Conservative, and surely those are the votes you have to go after.
Well, first of all, I think Jeremy, actually, the polls show he's quite appealing to Tory and UKIP voters, not because of his views on race and migration, but because he's very authentic and he's seen as not politics as usual. And in terms of the defeat, I think we all have to acknowledge that one of the reasons that we lost last May was because Ed Miliband, even though he's a lovely man, didn't even begin to cut through with the public in the way that Jeremy has done.
And perhaps he was too modest to try and address that.
Maybe, but I think even in these first few weeks, Jeremy is seen by people as an authentic Labour voice in the way, sadly, Ed Miliband never was.
Well, we're going to try and find out from our friends here as to how it sort of may have played beyond but it didn't seem to me, this was a speech to the people sitting here. The eyeball contact was with them, there was no real appeal out to people's homes.
I think so. I think
there was.
I think because he's talking about his values and his vision, talking about human rights, he's talking about housing, something Jeremy as a London MP cares very passionately about, because the London, housing market is ridiculous. So I think there was a lot for people at home.
And very briefly, here to stay, here for a year, here for life?
Here to stay and here to take us through to 2020. You heard it here first.
Diane Abbott, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Well, now, Jeremy Corbyn lambasted the Conservatives for offering tax breaks to hedge fund owners who are taking millions of pounds of donations from the same people at the same time. But Labour has also relied on rich donors. Jeremy Corbyn's election has caused some of them to put away their chequebooks, and the government's trade union bill will make it harder for unions to bankroll the party. So how will Labour make ends meet? Michael Crick has been investigating.
Brighton's Grand Hotel, and tucked away inside this morning, a grand breakfast.
What's that? Good bacon. What kind of bacon is that? Ooh.
Eggs Florentine, smoked salmon and scrambled eggs, and kedgeree.
This behind me is a brunch meeting of the 1,000 Club, people who are pledged to give Labour £1,000 a year. You give £1,000 a year to the party, do you?
I'm here to talk to people who want to help the party.
But you give £1,000 to the party every year.
I'm here to talk to people who want to help the party, Mr. Crick.
Sounds like you don't give £1,000. Tell us about how the 1,000 Club works. They all give £1,000 a year.
No, I don't want to talk about it.
Really?
No.
I thought this was the party of honesty and straight talking. Has that been abandoned? Is that another U-turn?
It's just a
Michael,
private lunch.
be nice
Yes,
and go
thank
away.
you.
Do you give £1,000 a year, Mr. Brad?
Of course I do.
Really? How much do you give altogether?
It's none of your business.
If I was to give £1,000, do you think they'd let me in?
You certainly not.
Do you think there'll be a fall in business donations?
Well, there's been a fall in business donations for quite a while with the Labour Party, and the issue now is that the government are trying to stop us being financed at all by using the law, and I think you should be asking them why they're trying to bankrupt Her Majesty's opposition.
Despite that government threat to union funding, Labour's new leadership say that with 100,000 new members, their finances should be okay.
So our income will be from membership fees, local fundraising, trade.
What about millionaires like you used to have in the Blair years? I mean, would you welcome donations?
Well, if they're socialists and want to contribute, fair enough.
But what is the People's Party doing? £1,000 a year, champagne, eggs Florentine in a plush hotel. I mean, is that really the sort of working class socialist party that you...
I'd better go and tell them it's going to change next year, shall I?
It's going to change, is it? What, is this going to be sort of Weetabix next year?
Beans on toast.
8 years ago, this businessman gave more than £600,000 to Labour.
So are you giving the party a lot more money now he's been elected?
I've got confidence in Jeremy Corbyn.
Well, why not give him some money if you've got confidence then?
We've got a lot of new members. We've got, 160,000 new members.
I mean, they're not as rich as you are. Why don't you give them a lot more money?
My richness is in my heart.
No champagne.
No champagne?
No champagne.
What, £1,000 and you don't get any champagne? Is this the new Corbyn Labour Party? No champagne? What did you have, eggs Florentine? Glass of champagne?
No, I don't drink at lunchtime, Michael, you know that.
Not sure I do, but anyway, I mean...
No, I had very nice kedgeree since you asked me.
Kedgeree?
Kedgeree, yeah.
So kedgeree for £1,000?
Jeremy Corbyn's party could have as big a challenge balancing its own books as convincing voters it can balance the country's.
Jeremy Corbyn, in his speech today, gave a special mention to his constituency in Islington North. He's been MP there for more than 30 years. Although born in Wiltshire, this inner-city London constituency has defined the man and his politics. Boric O'Brien spent 3 days there, meeting his friends, finding out what makes the place tick, and exploring how the constituency made the man.
In the constituency of Islington North, the devil himself is a Corbyn supporter. This is not the Islington of Blair's New Labour. This is Holloway. Different allegiances.
Nathan, Jeremy Corbyn.
The famous Nambucca Club has held Corbyn nights for young Labour converts. He's achieved something truly revolutionary here, won over the metal crowd.
He's providing us with hope. He's providing us with something in the political system to believe in again.
But when I see someone like him, I think, hold on a minute, maybe I want to get into politics. Yeah. Maybe I want to be Jeremy Corbyn because I could be that guy that stands up for the right thing.
Exactly
and perhaps he is that man.
I really like his politics. I think it's like something new, exciting, and we need a voice because I don't think the Eton boys or the people in the parliament have a, excuse my French, have a clue of what the realities of life is.
Corbyn's is the smallest constituency in the country. Densely populated, deprived but gentrifying, diverse. Identity politics played big here over the years. A place where an Irish pub is owned by an Afghan called Ali Paddy. Other landmarks, Arsenal Football Club, Finsbury Park Mosque, but nowhere defines Corbyn like the giant Andover estate.
It's like having a friend, your next door neighbour, in that sense.
Yeah.
Corbyn lives round the corner. He lives and breathes Andover, has done for 30 years. So has his friend, Barbara Sidnall.
Let's imagine he rings you up and you become his chief of staff.
Yeah.
What advice would you give him?
Sometimes being too radical, too quick, will scare people. As chief of staff, I would look at the people around him, making sure that they are the same people in reality that are listening.
If this estate defines the man, Sue Burridge's story even more so.
There is a lot of us that are genuinely living on a breadline.
Are you?
Yes.
We agreed to meet her later that evening. In the meantime, come out of the estate, turn left again.
I wondered how long before you hacks got onto Corbyn Street.
Everyone on Corbyn Street has a Corbyn story, like 90-year-old Cyril Temple. He remembers his MP canvassing with 2 volunteers.
I hope we could get your vote. I said, I wouldn't vote for you if you were the last person standing. He said, why? I said, I'm a Jew, I'm a Zionist, and I don't think you are, and you don't like Israel.
Then, according to Cyril, one of the volunteers became aggressive.
One of these 2, he raised his arms to me, and he pulled him away.
Outside the junction of Corbyn and Hornsey Road.
Horror!
If you thought a heavy metal Satanist the most unlikely Corbyn supporter, you'd be wrong. That would be Hora Dendau.
So this is Mr. Corbyn.
This is Mr. Corbyn,
You know, I find myself drawn
Do you?
Because it's that sort of radical approach. You know, I've bought into this corporate thing. You know, I am an Oxbridge bloke.
Yeah.
I did go to a Piers Gaveston thing many years ago.
Did you?
It wasn't the thing with pigs' heads and, you know...
Hang on, you were at one of those parties?
Yes, I was, yes, many years ago.
And you're telling me you're...
I'm
attracted to Corbyn's...
I like Corbyn's approach. What is that all about? Is that midlife crisis gone mad? But I mean, there are a lot of people probably like me, 55-year-olds, who just think this bloke is something new. He's radical.
As a constituency MP, Corbyn is a grafter. In 3 days, hardly anyone with a bad word to say. The Nag's Head Market, where Corbyn buys his vests.
In a way, mentally, he didn't change a lot. He is still charming and still caring and still thinks that you have to help the whole world.
Siona Gast, a socialist friend from back in the day.
Do you think he has what it takes to be Prime Minister?
I don't think so.
Oh, you don't?
I don't think so. To run a country, you need to be tough. And you can't be so lefty, because sometimes you have to give up, even so you don't like it.
You have to compromise.
No other way.
That night, back on the estate, stories of two old Corbyn constituents.
Number one, Johnny Lydon.
Yeah?
It used to be Johnny Rotten. Sid Vicious is behind you in the main big block.
So how long has that gone back?
30 years.
Is
yeah.
it?
Yeah.
So you've been here a long time?
Yeah, I was 6 months old when I moved in here.
Jeremy Corbyn's politics on housing and mental health forged in places like Sue Burridge's porch. Her mother died recently, meaning the bedroom tax kicked in on the new spare room.
Your mum passes away.
Yes.
The bedroom becomes free.
Yes.
And then you get taxed
yes.
for the bedroom because you've got a spare room and a council property that, you know, the argument could go to somebody else.
Correct.
Yeah. What sort of pressure does that, how much do you have to pay for that?
It's £15 a week.
And is that a lot for you?
It's a huge amount for me. There's no way I can heat this house this winter.
Yeah.
So, like we did last year, we'd put it on only if we had family coming round. We'd put it on then to heat the house up, then it went off. But it's blankets and hot water bottles again this year.
Islington North feels a long way from Middle England. The challenge for Corbyn, making policy metal more easy listening.
Porrick O'Brien, our main headline tonight, Jeremy Corbyn has made his first speech as leader at the Labour Party conference here in Brighton. In a wide-ranging hour-long address, he lambasted the Conservatives as a party for the few, the media for misrepresenting him, and promised a kinder, more inclusive, less rude politics.
Don't accept injustice. Stand up against prejudice. Let us build a kinder politics, a more caring society together. Let's put our values, the people's values, back into politics. Conference, thank you.
Well, we're joined here in the conference hall by a very interesting cross-section of Labour members, some long-standing, some a good bit newer. But what's really interesting is that most of them did not vote for Mr. Corbyn. They voted for the others, pretty evenly distributed, half a dozen roughly for each of the other candidates. So the question now is, are they all now Corbynistas? Let me start with you, because you did not vote for Mr. Corbyn. You voted for
Andy.
And well, how's today struck you? Are you now a Corbynista?
I'm a Labourite. I think I was expecting division, as the headlines presume there would be, and actually it's quite harmonious and it's enjoyable.
And I mean, do you feel you've got the leader you need?
That speech today actually impassioned me. I felt like going out on a Labour doorstep, so yeah, definitely.
The big question, and you're a total Corbynista loyalist, because you voted for him, and you both and your daughter voted for him too.
That's correct.
And the big question for you really is, will it appeal to people who are not like you, who are on the doorstep?
I think it will. I think the issue is that we're one party, and just because we had a leadership election doesn't mean we're now a different party. We are the Labour Party. So I think that his speech today will just bring us all together from our various campaigns and get behind the leader to actually deliver the policies that the people in this country need.
But don't you think it's rather difficult to see him winning Tory votes back, for example?
No, I don't, because I think the policies that he announced in terms of supporting the self-employed are very interesting, and they're things that we can talk to people about.
Like what?
Like the pensions, the maternity leave, the extra support, where if someone who's self-employed has an accident, there's no safety net for them there at the moment. We have lots of...
Poppy, you voted for Corbyn, right?
I did, yeah.
And how's today struck you?
I think, in answer to your first question, I don't think we need to win Tory votes back. I think, obviously...
Well, there were 11 million of them.
Well, yes, but there are a lot of people that don't vote as well, and I think it shouldn't be the overall strategy of the Labour Party to chase after people. The first point of the Labour Party should be to do what it believes in, and for people to follow that. And I think that the reason that people overwhelmingly stood for Jeremy Corbyn was because if you look at, for example, the voting against the welfare bill, I mean, what is the point in a Labour Party that unites together to abstain against that bill?
Right.
And when he did that, I think he really showed that he was going to fight back.
Is anybody a bit disappointed today? I mean, did you vote for Corbyn?
I actually gave him my second preference.
Second preference.
Andy Burnham was the guy for me, but I wasn't disappointed at all, actually. I found, as Jade said, there were bits of that speech which were really, really very stirring indeed.
Like?
I think, for example, like his defence of what, a new modern left could be, and, focusing on the self-employed, but not in the way that the Tories frame it. So, understanding aspiration, real working class aspiration, but not something that's just completely materialistic, something which buys into a sense of, our pride in being British, wanting to do the best things for ourselves and our kids. That's really, for me, a socialist value, actually. So it was great to hear him championing that.
Have you all grown up left? I mean, do you wander around thinking I'm left? Yes?
Yeah.
Really? I mean, you've never been anything else?
No.
But you voted for people who we didn't perhaps in the media regard as particularly left, like Yvette Cooper, for example. Who voted for Yvette? Yes.
I actually voted for Yvette Cooper because I would love to see a woman leading our party. However, I'll always support Jeremy Corbyn.
Why?
Because I feel like he's very authentic. He's not in it for himself. He will defend the Labour Party by all means possible.
And you?
I voted for Liz Kendall.
Yes. Well, I mean, she's a Blairite.
Yeah, I mean, she's a moderniser.
Yeah.
I voted for her partly because I am concerned about electability.
Yeah.
I think it will be a lot of hard work. I'm not saying we can't get there, but I think it is a lot of hard work. And again, I really wanted a woman to lead the party. I think it's significant that we stand for equality, yet we've never had a woman leader. I think that's quite significant. Having said that, again, I will always be Labour, and I think, I read something, the worst Labour government will always be better than the best Tory government.
Okay,
and
now
I think
look,
that's significant.
I'll tell you what I'm really fascinated by is, can you love Tony Blair and Jeremy Corbyn? How many of you voted for Tony Blair and got excited by him? And how many voted for Corbyn? How many Corbynista stroke Blairites are there?
I was thinking about that today, that I think lots of us in the room would have stood up and a standing ovation for Tony Blair a while ago, and now we're having standing ovations for Jeremy Corbyn. And I think that says something about what's the same. We're still members of the same Labour Party, which believe in the same things, and a kinder politics and a more caring society really encapsulates that. That hasn't changed.
A friend of mine sent me a tweet around the time of the leadership election saying, when Corbyn was elected, saying, brilliant, no more beige politics. And I thought, my politics have never been beige. I'm a Labour councillor. I'd do the same before as after Corbyn, under Blair.
But
it's our
Blair
job
surely
to stand up against inequality.
Blair surely went from the risen Christ to a bit of a devil figure over the Iraq War.
The Iraq War was appalling, but I don't accept either of the descriptions that you've given of Blair. I think that there was a long period when he was an excellent leader, and I hope there'll be a long period when Corbyn will be an excellent leader.
So it's perfectly possible.
And I'll carry on doing my job as a councillor and defending people against inequality regardless.
But the beauty of Blair was that he won Tory votes. Yeah. Can Corbyn win Tory, Liberal Democrat, UKIP votes?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we're supposed to need 4 out of 5 Tory votes to win the next general election. I don't think you can argue with that. I mean, I appreciate your point that we can appeal to people who just don't come out to vote at all. but fundamentally that has never built an election-winning majority before. I'm not sure it ever will. So we do have to go to Tory voters. You can,
only two Labour leaders with a beard. Keir Hardie and Jeremy. Can he win with a beard?
Hope so.
Yeah.
There's something today about it not just being about the leader. So there's a lot of focus on just his speech, but we've had a whole conference of a lot of other different speeches and different points of view, and the party is much more than one leader. And I think this way of being open about politics might change that as well. So you're talking about the whole of the Labour values and position.
But it depends whether you can be open and have a really big argument and recover from it. And generally speaking, people don't seem to recover from terrible arguments in British politics.
True, but we're not having a terrible.
It's a debate.
Not yet.
But we're not.
We're not going to.
You're not going to?
Well, I wouldn't say we would, because within each aspect of the party, we all believe in the same value of we are the party of progress and we want better for people. No matter what, we can unite behind that idea. And through Corbyn, it's just one aspect of it, as well as a different aspect of that.
I know what you're going to tell me in the answer to the final question, which is, can you win in 2020?
Yes.
Oh, my God. Well, listen, thank you very much indeed, all of you, for coming in, and we're going to watch what you do in your Labour Party very carefully over the next few years. Thank you very much indeed.